Hello good people! This is FisherTwelve and we have another exciting episode of the Black Ops show for you guys today, as always, and this episode is all about how the new Black Ops 3 zombie maps, Shadows of Evil and the Giant, fit into the zombies timeline. Now, all this information is from actual in-game content, so Easter eggs, radio transmissions, etc. So there's no assumptions or fabrication here. I offer a couple theories, but I'll make it clear when those theories are being presented. So let's take a look at our already established timeline. Our first official chronological zombies map is Origins, and this happens in 1918. This is where Maxis and Richtofen with Group 935 discover the powers of Element 115, and then the US, Japan, and Russia all catch word of this, and then they send Dempsey, Takeo, and Nikolai to capture Richtofen, and this is all in the Origins opening cutscene. Next, we jump ahead to 1933 when we have Mob of the Dead, and this is the battle on Alcatraz with Finn, Bill, Sal, and Albert. And Mob of the Dead, you have two options, you have two possible outcomes. You can escape Alcatraz, or you can get killed by Albert. If you try to escape Alcatraz, the characters die and the events repeat themselves. If Albert kills the other players, the cycle is broken and then he escapes on his own. Then we move on to 1945, one of the more eventful years for zombies. And of the original zombies maps that we had on World at War, that chronologically, what happens first is Verrucht. And this is where Dempsey tries to save OSS spy Peter McCain. While Peter is freed and he gets parachuted into some remote base, Dempsey is captured. The next map we have in the timeline is Nacht der Untoten, and this map is actually the recovery of Peter McCain. Other than that, it doesn't have any greater purpose in the storyline. Now, the next two maps are Shinonuma and Der Riese. Now, I think their order is debatable, and the reason why I think their order is debatable is because the zombies plot indicates that they fight here twice. Once Richtofen traps Maxis, Samantha, and Fluffy in the teleporter and sends them out, Richtofen and his test subjects escape to Shinonuma and they fight out of Der Riese, and then after fighting at Shinonuma, the characters return back to Der Riese to try to use one of the teleporters. Instead of ending up at the moon like Richtofen intended, they end up in an abandoned German theater, which is Kino der Toten. So I think you can make the argument that the map Der Riese happens before the gang leaves for Shinonuma, and you could also make the argument that it happens after the map and that Der Riese is what causes Kino der Toten to happen. The next maps that happen are Ascension and 5, and they both happen in 1962. After being teleported to Kino, the group is then teleported to a Soviet cosmodrome where they must save the Soviet scientist Gersh, who's been trapped inside his Gersh device. Now, from here out, this is where Treyarch goes a little dark with the story timeline. All of these next maps are identified as being after 1996. So there's no set years for the following maps, but we can use some in-game context clues to at least place the maps in order. So first is Call of the Dead, and this happens on March 17th, and because the map was released in 2011, I'm going to guess that this is when the map happens. Next is Shangri-La, and we have absolutely no context for what year this happens in, so let's just pick 2018. Then we have Moon and Nuketown, and these happen simultaneously. We know that from the audio transmissions you can hear on Nuketown from the moon, and if Nuketown Zombies is an infested version of Nuketown 2025, then we can guess that these happen in 2025. And after those come the other Black Ops 2 maps, Green Run, Die Rise, and Buried, where you can break off from there into either a Maxis or a Richtofen timeline. And we'll say these events happen around 2027. And I can already tell you guys that I know that that year is not correct. And I'll tell you guys my thinking here. The Black Ops 2 maps have to take place after 2014 because we know Russman is born in 1939 and is older than 75. It would make him 88 years old if we pick 2027 as the year for these three maps. That doesn't seem unplausible, so let's move on to the next character. Misty is said to be born before 1978, so this would make her at least 50 years old if we pick 2027, and then Marley would be at least 48, I believe, and we don't know how old Sam is. So maybe Russ is 88, but I don't think the other players are that old. So 2027 doesn't seem like a likely date for these three maps to be taking place, but I'll debate that more in my other storyline video that I'll put out. It's not super important in terms of the context of Shadows of Evil and the Giant. So speaking of which, where do these maps fall into the timeline? Well, Shadows of Evil takes place during the 1940s, and Treyarch told us during the Zombies reveal that this storyline does tie into Mob of the Dead. And then the Giant falls into place in 1945, right after Verrückt, immediately after Richtofen teleports Maxis, Sam, and Fluffy. And we also see the Origins Richtofen shoot and kill, we'll call him the World at War Richtofen, thus effectively changing history and creating a new timeline. So this new timeline makes everything from Shinonuma and after non-existent, because in theory that was all the World at War Richtofen, who is now killed by the Origins Richtofen. And I imagine that the Black Ops 3 zombie maps will be part of this new timeline. So I know that's kind of a brain teaser right there. Treyarch is sending us on a roller coaster, but what you guys see here is the Black Ops Zombies timeline as of now. I'll leave this up on the screen for a bit, but this will unfortunately bring us to the end of the episode. Leave me some love in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen in the new timeline. Make sure to like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and if you want even more Black Ops 3 Zombies content, subscribe to the channel. There are new uploads every other day. And other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and take care.